What's wrong with this picture? It's from a CNN town hall on gun violence held just days after a mass shooting at a high school in Parkland, Florida. On one side, you've got the parents, teachers, and students who survived the shooting. And on the other, you've got Dana Lash, a spokeswoman for the NRA who's famous for saying things like,
"They will perish in the political flames of their own fires."
This is what the modern gun debate looks like in America. We're so used to hearing from the NRA that we don't really question it when we see them on TV anymore. But talking to the NRA has turned the gun control debate into a confusing, frustrating mess.
We don't say that no one has a right to free speech. I mean, are we talking about prevention or not? Wait a second.
And that's exactly what gun companies were hoping for.
Anything can be qualified as an assault weapon. If you stab someone with a spoon, it can be qualified as an assault weapon.
If you go to the NRA's website right now, you'll see the group describing itself as America's longest-standing civil rights organization.
We're the largest and oldest civil rights organization in America.
The NRA really wants you to think of it that way, because it frames the organization as essentially a public interest group, alongside groups like the ACLU and NAACP. That framing is the reason the NRA pops up in every debate about gun control. If you think of the NRA as a group that represents gun owners, you can't really debate gun policy without them. The problem is
the way they go about this is a charade. It's a fraud. What they're really doing is representing the interests of the gun companies.
This is Democratic Congressman Ted Deutsch. He represents Florida's 22nd Congressional District, which is where the Parkland shooting took place. And he is tired of arguing with the NRA.
This is an organization that receives millions of dollars every year from gun companies directly, millions more through advertisements.
Yeah, you've probably heard about the NRA giving money to politicians, but we should talk about how much money the NRA gets from gun companies. Every year, gun manufacturers donate millions of dollars to the NRA through its Corporate Partners program. Some of them sponsor specific NRA projects, like Empower the People, sponsored by Sig Sauer, or Love at First Shot, sponsored by Smith & Wesson.
What is Love at First Shot?
I don't want to know. Other gun companies give money directly to the NRA, and ones that donate over $1 million get to be part of something called the NRA's Golden Ring of Freedom.
An honor given to those who make significant contributions to the NRA's defense of the Second Amendment.
That Golden Ring of Freedom includes companies like Beretta, Remington, Bushmaster, and Smith & Wesson, the manufacturer that produced the gun that was used in the Parkland massacre.
It's important for everybody to step up and support the NRA. They are our voice.
In exchange for their donations, the NRA gives gun companies these tacky golden jackets.
It's more of a dirty yellow.
Yeah, that is not gold. The NRA doesn't disclose how much money it gets from these donations, but a report by the Violence Policy Center estimates the number was anywhere between 20 and 60 million from 2005 to 2013. The NRA makes millions more by selling ad space to gun companies in publications like American Rifleman. But maybe weirdest of all, some companies donate a portion of every gun sale directly to the NRA. Taurus buys an NRA membership for every customer who buys one of their guns. In 2015, Sturm Ruger launched a campaign donating $2 to the NRA for every gun they sold. Which explains why so much NRA programming looks like a gun ad.
The AR-15 is one of the most effective tools available to protect yourself and your family.
What the?
All of this makes the NRA less of a public interest group and more of an industry lobbying group. And that's a big distinction. We're arguing about gun control with a group that makes money when people buy guns.
They're a lobbying group. I don't know, frankly, that there's another lobbying organization that drives the debate on an issue the way that they do, and they're not doing it on behalf of anyone other than gun companies.
So anytime the NRA debates gun control, their priority is protecting the product, to deflect attention away from gun sales. They blame violence on things like video games.
Vicious, violent video games with names like Bulletstorm.
While blocking the CDC from actually studying gun violence. Or they say we need to enforce existing gun laws.
We have all kinds of gun laws on the books right now, John. We don't enforce any of them.
While lobbying to gut the agencies that would actually enforce those laws. They blame states for not using the background check system.
Do you know that it is not federally required for states to actually report people who are prohibited possessors?
And then aggressively oppose background checks because, quote, background checks don't stop criminals from getting firearms.
You know perfectly well the reason states aren't mandated to go through that system is because of a lawsuit the NRA filed.
Or, most obvious of all, they argue the solution to gun violence is buying more guns.
To stop a bad guy with a gun, it takes a good guy with a gun.
Yeah, that's a twofer. They get to talk about something other than all of the things that have broad bipartisan support, and they get to talk about something that is ultimately going to benefit the gun companies that fund their entire operation.
The annoying thing is, these distractions work. A Vox study of cable news coverage after the Parkland shooting found that CNN and MSNBC both devoted serious airtime to debating arming teachers.
How do you feel when you hear these proposals to arm the teachers, given what was going on?
That allegiance to gun companies creates a warped view of the gun control debate. The truth is, huge majorities of Americans agree on things like background checks and restrictions on assault weapons. And most gun owners, including NRA members, support things like universal background checks. The NRA knows this too, which is why they work so hard to convince their members that the government is coming to take away their guns.
Their goal is to eliminate the Second Amendment so they can eradicate all individual freedoms.
It is always this attempt to whip people into a frenzy. This is just the first step. We're the only thing that stands between you and tyranny. It's nonsense. It's a distraction.
It's also a smart marketing strategy. If you convince people the government is coming for your guns, they'll buy more. Gun sales usually spike after mass shootings. Thankfully, not everyone is falling for it.
They don't deserve to waste people's times with whataboutisms. They don't deserve to waste people's time by changing the way that the conversation's going.
This is Ryan Deitch, a survivor of the Parkland shooting. He was visibly frustrated at the CNN town hall. And he says he started turning down invitations to debate NRA spokespeople like Dana Loesch.
We know what happened at the town hall, and we just did not want to give her that platform.
Deitch isn't afraid of debating gun control.
I love to face the opposition. I've been told I'm too nice.
But he says talking to the NRA is different.
They're never going to agree because the money flows one way. Like if Dana Loesch came out there today and then agreed with every single thing that we've been pushing, they'd get a new Dana.
Please God, no, not a new Dana. We've seen this exact thing happen before with tobacco. In the 50s, tobacco companies formed the Tobacco Institute, a group that spent 40 years fighting against tobacco regulation.
Most of the Tobacco Institute's work is with people who represent the public's interests.
The group became one of Washington's most powerful, well-heeled, and effective political lobbies. And like the NRA, they did everything they could to protect the product. They blamed lung cancer on air pollution and food additives, tried to block government research on smoking.
It's inappropriate for any agency of government to take steps to try to eliminate a legal product.
And peddled junk science.
Most smokers don't develop lung cancer. We think it's an open question.
And believe it or not, lots of news outlets took the bait.
The Tobacco Institute charged that its findings were based on evidence that is not scientifically conclusive.
Looking back, it's bananas that anyone included the Tobacco Institute in public health debates. But that's exactly what's happening now with the NRA.
There's no question that having the representative for the biggest gun companies raises all of those same concerns.
That doesn't mean we should ignore the NRA. It's still an incredibly powerful industry lobbying group, and we should take that political influence seriously. But that doesn't mean we need to take their arguments seriously. Debates about gun control only work if both sides are genuinely interested in finding a solution to gun violence. But in this case, they're not.
If the way that you're approaching this is about either having guns or not having guns, then having the gun manufacturers there probably makes sense. But that's not what the debate should be. That's not what the debate is. It's about taking action to keep our communities safe.
That's a conversation most Americans agree on, but it's a conversation that falls apart every time the NRA gets a seat at the table.
I want to thank Dana Loesch of the NRA for being here to listen to your questions.